Speedos. What are the benefits of wearing those? And is it beneficial for style? Does it just show the abs more? What's the benefit there?
Honestly, it's just such an old school thing. It's tradition. That's how it is. You got your wrestling boots, you got your speedos, and this is how it should be. You'll see a lot of the younger talents. Like if I was a wrestler, I'm not rocking the speedos. Like I'll give me some tights, give me some shorts. That's just me. John Cena, he rocked in his jorts. He got some his sneakers and he has his jorts. Can't wait for him to hang up them
I
jorts.
feel like I've seen him in a Speedo, though. No?
When he first started, because he was with FCW, Florida Championship Wrestling, I believe. That was their developmental program back then. And he was known as Prototype. That was his name. Mm-hmm. And he came to WWE, had I guess his tryout match. I'm not sure what match it was, but he had a match against Kurt Angle, and he was rocking the Speedos. Later on, they switched his gimmick up to this rapper. He's rocking jerseys, got the jewelry and his shorts, and yeah, he just kept it. And I think he's the only one to ever just like consistently wrestle in jorts. Like he wrestles in jean shorts. But the typical wrestler, they're classic with the Speedos and the boots.
You feel like you would feel like in a Speedo you have more liberty and limberness, but the jorts might be a little constricting.
I think they are,
especially for the headlocks.
But that's his image, that's his look, and he is so like respected and loved by the company that he gets a bigger share of his merch sales. So he'll always drop a combo of a new hat and a shirt and some wrist things, and it just works as he'll rock that full outfit with his jorts, and it's kind of like, oh, he got some streetwear. So he is very good with marketing and taking people's money, and it works because
this is John Cena.
Yeah, because before he gets to the ring, like you just see him in a regular street outfit, and he'll take off his shirt. He does it a certain way where he just like pulls it, whips it around, and tosses it into the audience, and
just in regular society, just
and they go crazy for it. He'll take off his little hand things, like whoosh, whoosh, and then he's just left in his sneakers and his jorts. Yeah, no wrestling boots. He's rocking his jorts and his sneakers.
God, to have that power to just strip publicly and throw your shirt out. We need to get there. We got to get there, dude.
Yeah, but he's earned it. Like, he's great with his interviews. He's known as the GOAT, like the greatest of all time. It took me a while to...
He's the greatest of all time, John Cena?
Yeah, and what people...
Interesting.
I know. First of all, like...
Not even like The Rock or any of these? Oh, okay.
The Rock's really not... The Rock's... Hulk Hogan's too selfish. Like, there's so many times where he could have put other younger talent over, and he chose just to make it about him. Okay. And after a while, even the audience owner was like, dude, we're tired of you. We're tired of seeing your leg drop. And to me, I hated that move. He'll do a leg drop, and I'm like, the guy gets pinned 1, 2, 3. I'm like,
it's redundant.
Really? Yeah. A leg drop? That's how you get knocked out? A leg drop? I'm like, bruh, come on.
The script wasn't good for that.
Everyone has their finishing moves. Some moves are weak, but if that's their finishing move, you gotta take it and take that pin. I'm like, some of these moves, I'm like, no, that's trash. Like, they're just hot garbage.
Jesus. Well, at least on my list, the last question I had is, what has kept you watching wrestling today? It sounds like nostalgia if you started watching it very young.
It's nostalgia.
Which I think is interesting because it fits into the theme of your show, is nostalgia. Is that the only, or is there anything else that kind of fuels your
There's
watching?
multiple aspects, because since I've been watching for so long, some of these guys, like, they're in their 40s and 50s. So I'm kind of like, damn, look at them still moving around. One dude, Edge, don't really care for Edge. Not a fan of his. He just, to me, I always hated him as a heel. And then when he was a face, I'm like, I just thought he was, I just didn't care for him. Don't like his style. Mm-hmm. Like, I wish him luck. I wish him his success in his career. I just don't care to see him on the screen. That's my personal view. Probably a great dude in real life. But yeah, like, for me, it's easier now also to watch wrestling because I bake from home. I bake cookies. So when I'm in the kitchen, I can just have wrestling playing on my TV or on my laptop, and I can listen to it. I don't always have to see what's going on because typically, like, they got some really good commentators, and they're describing the match, and they also keep it entertaining. They're making jokes, they're describing their moves, they fill you in on backstory. So at times it's like watching a podcast. Since I work, since I run my own business, I'm a company of one. I like to have like to hear things in the background, like other people, other conversations. So wrestling is something I've always known about, and so it's nice for me to kind of like just listen to it, and I can get my work done without like that quietness. I try to put on a movie or show. I might start watching it too much and I get distracted and my productivity goes down. With wrestling, if I'll hear like oh my gosh, did you see that? I'm like, oh, I'll try to see the move. I might rewind it if it's like a replay, or I'll wait for them to show the replay and I'm like, wow, that was actually pretty cool. Then I'll go about my business. I actually don't really care as much for the wrestling part. It matters who's like wrestling, but I am more intrigued by the storylines. That's what gets me going. I grew up with my family loving soap operas, and that's literally what wrestling is. Monday Night Raw is actually the longest running episodic television program out now.
Interesting. I even remember, now that you say Raw, Monday nights, watching that as a little kid.
Yeah, it's been going on longer than anything, longer than The Simpsons.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just something it's easy to pay attention to. And reality TV is such a big thing that I have caught myself being intrigued by some of these characters. Like, I'll watch their documentaries or I'll watch their interviews. So I'm like, it's more than just wrestling. Like, I just root for them as individuals. Like, if I really like a wrestler, and I don't know, I just like, I want to see this guy succeed. So like, when I'm watching it, I'm just kind of like, come on, please do a good showing, because like I want him to push you, type of thing. There was this dude, Daniel Bryan, small guy. I think he's like 5'6" or 5'8". I could be wrong. Don't really know all their heights like that, but he was not the stereotypical like champion, or he didn't have that look because he wasn't tall, he wasn't built, but he was a great technical wrestler. He knew how to sell, he knew how to talk, he knew how to win a crowd over. He knew how to win a crowd over so well that he had this chant where people just put their fingers up and it's like, yes, yes, and they would go crazy for it. The audience and the fans got so loud, and there was so much pressure that they're like, you know what? You weren't supposed to be a champion, but let's give him the belt. Like, you got to listen to the fans, because without the fans, you don't have a product. And yeah, he knew what he was doing, and he made it work in his favor. But things like that, it just catches my interest. I'm like, oh, okay. I look at also the psychology aspect of wrestling. So I follow some of these guys like real life, the psychology, and sometimes the storylines are entertaining. Some of them are very foolish and kind of like ridiculous, but hey, it's meant to be ridiculous at times, so it entertains.
Right. That's interesting. Yeah, and as a creative soul like yourself, seeing how they put these storylines together, both from a showmanship perspective and just who they truly are, I can see how that can be something you cling on to from an early age, especially if you've seen a lot of these guys grow, from that young age, right? I mean, you've probably seen young guys who I don't know how long.
No, one guy I watched him when I think he was in like either teens or 20s, and now he's in his 50s, and it's kind of like, wow,
he's still wrestling. Yeah,
he doesn't wrestle often.
That's actually a good question. What is the average age that a wrestler will just call it quits?
If you're in Japan, it could be in your 50s. Here in the States,
they age well.
They do, because in Japan there's one program called New Japan Pro Wrestling. After every match, like, they run in the ring and they ice you down. They put the ice on like on their sore muscles. Yeah, so they're like, all right, let's make sure this guy is good. WWE, they just lay there dead or pretend to be dead, and that's it. And it's a little different, but now with their medical team being so on point, and if like them taking care of themselves, you'll see like the majority of like top guys now, they're in their 40s and they're moving very well. Yeah, they'll try to, but also like when you get to that age, they know you're not as fast, you're not as agile, so that's when the storytelling comes into play, and they kind of like work off of that. So it's a little bit more slow and monotonous, but it's more strategic as well. Like you're literally trying to tell a story in the ring, and storytelling kind of builds up for the match.
Right.
Because there's programs where like they'll just put people to wrestle, and it's kind of like, all right, why do I want to watch this? But if you build a good rivalry, if you build a good story, then it's kind of like, all right, that'll make you actually want to watch a program. Like, you know what? Okay, I want to see them fight because I want to see how this turns out.
Right. And how they work together in the
Yeah.
ring, and how they play off each other, and
Oh, and if you have a great dynamic, they'll be like, yo,
Right.
let's run this back. Let's make them go again. Because
if they like each other, it could put on a great show too, right? Like,
and some of these dudes have wrestled with each other like on the independent scene. So it's like
Yeah.
when they make it to WWE, and it's kind of like, oh, they've known each other, but like typical WWE fans, like they don't know that,
Yeah.
and they'll see this beautiful chemistry, and that beautiful chemistry
Right.
could come from like them doing the independent scene, them traveling together on the road, and things of that nature.
and that's got to be the key word, chemistry, right?
Yeah.
I mean, do the wrestlers have chemistry enough so that everyone wants to join in on the fun? Yeah, no, that's really interesting, and I think that wrestling is something that I have very vague memories of in sort of the 90s, just seeing it on Monday Night Raw. But I think it's a little underrated in today's age, at least in the groups I hang out with, because UFC has been dominant and so forth. But maybe with this fusion of brands,
Yeah. Don't be surprised if you see UFC guys
Right.
in the audience, and they're calling out some of the wrestlers.
and that's like UFC is becoming so much about showmanship that it's a natural merger there, and maybe, and then you, like you said, you see wrestlers doing UFC and UFC doing wrestling, so maybe it all just becomes one sort of thing at some point.
I won't. I won't see it becoming
And where
like
does boxing
one.
fit into all that too? Because that's also becoming a big hype
Yeah.
fest.
But boxing and UFC will always be separated because I can't speak for boxing. I'm just going off like from things I've seen and things I've heard. But boxing is like the style and class and this grace. It's a gentleman's game. But then UFC is like, they're like, boxing is cute,
Right.
but you need to be well rounded because it's MMA, mixed martial arts. Like, oh, you're a boxer? I'm gonna take you to the ground and do some ground and pound because you don't know how to do that part.
Right,
So
right.
it'll always be
Here's a
separate.
kick.
Yeah, exactly. Here's a kick. But
It's interesting. Yeah, no. It's something that I want to start paying a little bit more attention to, especially like, I mean, your passion for it is very intoxicating in a good way. I mean, and I'm glad we're putting it on screen
Me too.
because it's fitting for your show for sure.
But,
Any other topics you want to cover? I mean,
I actually used to wrestle in high school.
okay.
I'm not sure if I ever wanted to be like go like WWE status, but I wanted a wrestling career. But I was like 185. I was wrestling this guy, 220s. We were on the same team. We were just kind of like just practicing.
Mm-hmm.
I had him down with this over underhook, and he got mad that he couldn't get out of it because I'm a smaller dude. So he did this move where he just stood straight up and like stepped out the circle. Wasn't supposed to do that. So when he stood up, he took my arm with him, and he dislocated my shoulder, and it popped out the socket. And actually, it cracked my neck too. The hospital had to come to the school and put me on a stretcher, put me on a neck brace, and I'm in my singlet, and it's like wintertime, so it's cold, and I'm just like
In New York, right?
No, this was actually it was in Florida, but it was like it was
Cold.
yeah. Well, for me, because like I'm just in it wasn't freezing,
Yeah.
but I'm just in a singlet, and I was like, ooh. I was like, okay, y'all just got me. Just oh yeah, it sucked because they tried to is it IV? I'm not sure what it was, but they couldn't find my vein, and I'm just like paralyzed, and I'm like hurting, and I'm feeling them going in my arm and the twirling around. I'm like, what are y'all doing? And they pull it out, and like, oh, we finally got the vein. I'm like, fuck. So yeah, that took away my wrestling career.
It's stories like that that make me glad I chose swimming as a competitive sport growing up in college. Yeah, no, I mean, it's obviously badass and super cool, but yeah, that doesn't sound fun.
I was mad because I'm like, man, I just came off my first what's it called? I got to varsity and I had my first varsity win. I was like, oh, this is gonna be great. And I'm like, really? you took away my wrestling career. Like I was like, this is what I wanted to do. I actually still have my wrestling mug from high school. Like it's my favorite. Like minus you,
Good
Deadpool.
morning, Joe.
For tea. I don't drink coffee.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I'm not a coffee drinker. You?
Oh, big coffee drinker, yeah.
Is it because you like the taste? It wakes you up, or why?
Yeah, I mean, there's addiction in play for sure, but
Love the honesty.
but it's I'm cutting down the amount of coffee I drink for sure because you don't want to go overboard, of course. But yeah, it's a warm sort of feeling, a ritual, and I think that in moderation, obviously not going beyond 1 or 2 cups a day. It gets the vibes and the positivity going for sure. Tea, of course, I need to get more into that. And actually, I've replaced my second cup of coffee with tea. So I'm doing like Darjeeling green tea, matcha,
Progress.
and so forth. Yeah, so much more healthy and also it's a little less caffeine
Yeah.
and healthier. So yeah, but. That's a funny tangent we just went on.
And I was like,
We're
wait,
talking about broken necks and
it's like Teague. I go the healthy
and
route.
health, yeah.
No, I drink coffee like 3 times a year. But even when I lived in New York, I was like one of the few.
Oh, so you were drinking a lot of coffee?
No, I drink coffee 3 times a year. That's it. That was
Oh,
my
three
max.
times a year. I thought you were saying 3 times a day. Yeah.
Oh no.
Jesus.
Oh no.
Three
Never.
times a year. What were the occasions?
National Coffee Day, and when I was a trainer at the gym, I had other trainers would come in. They're like, "Got you some coffee?" I'm like, "Why?
fuck
Just drink it." I'm like, "Okay." They're like, "You want sugar?" I was like, "No. If I'm gonna drink coffee, I want to drink it black because I want to like these are such good coffee beans. I want to appreciate it." And I'm like, And I was drinking. I'm like, it wasn't bad, it wasn't great. But then if I was tired, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna take a nap. You just drink coffee. I'm like, yeah, but I'm tired. I'm gonna take a nap. So the fact that I can just fall asleep after drinking coffee, I'm like, oh, this is what's up, like to wake you up. I'm like, man, I'm out of here.
I might have to show you some coffee I drank.
I'm intrigued. I wanna appreciate coffee.
Yeah, that's funny about the gym story though, because over at the gym I go to in Miami here, they're walking around offering coffee at like 8:39 p.m. and it's I mean, I guess if you got your
9 p.m. Damn.
sort of
A little pick me up, I guess.
senses, then maybe you can go right to sleep after it.
Oh,
But
yeah.
for me, I just
Oh, I can
think
knock
that
out.
do that in the morning maybe, but not at night. Yeah, no. Again, love the tangent we just went on.
Yeah, and if we do this again, which we probably will, I gotta talk to you about the whole Netflix deal because WWE
Yes.
is moving to Netflix in 2025.
Oh, okay.
So
And that's huge. That's huge. Yeah.
So if you guys
they're in
want
everyone's
more of that,
house. They are in everyone's house, Netflix. So I think that our theory about this really exponentially growing a lot is going to happen.
yeah.
Especially with that deal. Yeah.
And since they are under like the same umbrella like with UFC and WWE, I wouldn't be surprised to see like UFC stuff going to Netflix as well. But we'll save that for next time. Any final words or anything?
I do not have any final words, but I do look forward to seeing this phone again in the next show.
Well, thank you guys for watching. Like, share, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And yeah, this has been the wrestling segment on the Simply Human Show. Till next time.